Amanda, before we get into it, we have an icebreaker question for you. And that is, what do you wish you would have known before becoming a solopreneur?
Yeah, I feel like I'm taking a little bit of like an unconventional answer here, but I actually wish I would have known that in my experience, it's like not as hard as I think a lot of people make it out to be to start a business for yourself. Particularly for me, like I identify as a solopreneur, but I identify more as a freelancer. And so for me, it was really just about taking, for me, it's writing skills and turning that into my primary offer. I'm a copywriter. And making that like the basis of my business. Once I kind of figured out that that's what I wanted to do, it did feel like a lot of the pieces fell into place relatively quickly for me. And I still, built my business in more of like a slow and steady way. It wasn't like I quit my job and then like just started freelancing right away. Um, but
Okay, you started with a side hustle, right?
kind of, yeah, yeah. It was more of a gradual build. But yeah, for me, I think I had this misconception beforehand of like starting a business is really hard. And like you have to put in 80-hour weeks and work yourself to the bone. And that was not my experience. So I wish more people knew that.
I'm so happy you said that because I feel like the mental game when you want to become a solopreneur is so big and is such a barrier for people because it seems like that Everest that they need to summit. So it's just nice because you do even hear a lot of experts say it's a lot of hard work at the beginning, and it's like it's your career. Like you make it as hard as you want.
Right.
Can I ask a question? Did you, when you made this decision to start your business as a side hustle, or at some point in that process, did you kind of focus down on a particular area where you got to be known for, as opposed to just saying I'm a writer?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, I knew. So I'm a copywriter and I write for health and wellness clients. So in that sense, I knew pretty much from the beginning that I wanted to write in that niche and write for specifically for practitioners. So I write for like functional medicine doctors, naturopaths, chiropractors, people like that in kind of like alternative health and wellness space. People who generally have their own clinics and practices, and they typically outsource their marketing to someone else to do that for them. So I knew that that was kind of where I wanted to come in as support for those people and, kind of just help them achieve their mission of helping more people get well, which directly ties into my journey as well. So yeah, that's kind of how I started.
Do you work for them, or do you work for the doctor, or do you work for an agency that works for the doctor?
I have never worked with agencies actually. I directly work with the
Got
practitioner.
it. I was just curious. Thanks.
So let's talk about your journey because you call yourself the OG Health-First Freelancer. So what inspired that identity, and then how did your journey begin?
Yeah, so it's a long story. I'll try to give you the short version. But essentially, in 2019, I had a pretty severe health crisis. A lot of crazy symptoms. I didn't really know what was going on. It was a lot of anxiety and depression, fatigue, brain fog, gut issues that were coming up for me. And I couldn't pinpoint it to like one specific diagnosis. Saw a number of doctors. No one could really give me any answers. Um, and I was working at a digital marketing agency at the time, had to quit because my health was getting so bad, and basically went on this roller coaster of this illness for several months. And then towards the middle of that year, the summer, I ended up seeing a naturopathic doctor who started to help me put more of the like nutritional foundations in place to start feeling better again. And then I ended up seeing another practitioner who did diagnose me with Lyme disease, chronic Lyme disease. So coming out of that, as I was like slowly regaining my health and kind of exploring this alternative health and wellness world at the same time, getting really interested in that, I realized that I would not be capable of going back to like a 9 to 5 type of job. I'd also, prior to the digital marketing agency, I worked in a corporate setting. So I realized that that kind of environment and that schedule was not going to be conducive to my health, particularly as I was still really recovering from this particular episode. Um, and that's kind of where I landed on, okay, then that means I have to work for myself. I have to find a way to make money on my own and do it in a way that really prioritizes my energy and my well being. So, really big priorities for me at the time were being able to work for like 3 to 4 hours a day max. Also being able to like lay down and take a nap in the afternoon. I really like to tell people that I started my business so I could take naps, and that is absolutely true. And yeah, be able to use my skills in such a way that I was providing value, but without all the kind of extra hassle of like going into an office and sitting for 8 hours a day at a desk and like not having access to my bed at home so I could just lay down and rest when I needed to. So I say that I'm the OG Health-First Freelancer because my business was really built on this foundation of like I need to be able to take care of myself, and that is my most important priority, and my work has to fit around that. So that was kind of my beginning.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry you've had that experience. Like, it's never fun to say, like, I know what I'm talking about because I've lived it. You always want to say, I know what I'm talking about because I've researched it, but you have actually experienced it. And so, my question for you is like, what advice would you give to solopreneurs who feel like their health challenges are a barrier to success for them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say I think there's a mindset shift there that has to happen around making your health part of your definition of success. So if you're seeing your health or, chronic illness as an obstacle right now, I think you have to start considering, okay, how can prioritizing my well-being, in my everyday, like integrated into my business, how can I make that part of my definition of success? As opposed to just seeing it as something to constantly overcome. I think once you make that shift, it becomes less overwhelming, and it's more like becoming a partner with your health in a way, as opposed to like your health being the enemy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I still just trying to I just feel like so many people are in this situation that you've been in. So I just feel like this is such an important episode. How do you manage client expectations and deadlines while honoring your physical and mental capacity?
Yeah. I've definitely been really fortunate with my clients. They've all been really understanding, and I don't often ask for, extensions of deadlines of things. But for the most part, my clients are very understanding of like, we're working in marketing here. It's not life or death. Like if something is delayed by a few days, it's not a huge deal. But also I tend to work on like a monthly retainer schedule. So with a lot of my clients, what we do is we have like a set number of deliverables for the month. And I just let them know I will have these to you by the end of the month. And that kind of really gives me the freedom within the entire month of spacing out my work. And, if I need to take if there's a day where it's like just not happening for me and I need more rest on that day, it usually works out and I can make up the work on another day.
Are you just big on like transparency with your clients? And I mean, do they know your past and do they know the situation?
Yeah, most of them do. All of them do actually. Yeah, I'm pretty open about it.
Well, they do now because it's podcast.
Right. But I mean, also my clients are in that space. If I'm working with practitioners, for example, I worked with a naturopathic doctor who really specializes in mold illness and chronic Lyme and these kinds of like long-term chronic illnesses. So she's very familiar with that that type of illness. And yeah, I've never had a client be like, no, that's unacceptable. You can't, we need this by, tomorrow, kind of thing. So yeah.
Well, so there are solopreneurs that are like you who have gone through these challenges and need to and health has to be a priority. Like it just has to be. But then there are those solopreneurs that are go-getters and put health on the back burner a little bit. How do you encourage people to slow down from the get-go and overcome that guilt or pressure of not hustling and actually prioritizing rest?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so huge. I mean, this is really kind of the foundation of what I teach is like the health first mindset. You really kind of have to change your way of thinking to that. And I think for people who don't have chronic illness and maybe it's more of like they're just kind of generally concerned about their health or their capacity or, the risk of potential burnout, it does tend to be more of like a mindset shift for them to like think, okay, I could push past, my energy limits here or whatever it might be, but um, there's another choice here of taking the time to rest and revisiting this later or whatever that looks like for them. So it's really about adjusting your mindset and constantly like learning to ask yourself that question every day of like, okay, I have this decision before me. Is this supporting my health or is it not supporting my health? And making your decision accordingly.
Well, so with wellness in mind, you've built a six-figure business. So what systems and strategies in place without sacrificing wellness and making that your priority so that it's easier for you to get stuff done even while you're resting?
Yeah, yeah. For me as a freelancer, it's really like growing my income over time has really just been about maintaining and growing my relationships with my clients. Honestly, I've been freelancing. My business birthday, I say, is June 10th, 2020. Just had a 5-year
Okay.
anniversary. Thank you. And for me, I've really had like probably 10 or so clients in that entire time. And most of them, I just continue to go back and do new projects with them and grow our retainers. So that's really how it's worked for me. And I think it's been a natural process of learning. For me, it's copywriting. So learning new types of copy and just getting better and more efficient at things. Of course, now that we have AI as a tool to use, that has also been a huge efficiency booster in my business. So it's just been kind of finding those tools over time to get more efficient and also raising my prices over time for the services that I offer and knowing that I bring a huge value to my clients by extending our working relationship as I get to know their voice and their brand better over time. That is an increase in value and charging accordingly.
I'm so glad you brought up the price thing because that stresses so many people out. And they don't realize, like, that's just kind of a part of business. Like, I feel like if you're with somebody for a while, you can kind of assume, like, oh, well, rates are going up elsewhere, so I'm gonna and it doesn't have to be a crazy amount. But that is really intimidating. Do you have any advice for people on how to approach that?
Yeah, I do actually. So this has always been something that I've challenged myself to do. Charging, quote unquote, more than I'm comfortable with. Even from the very beginning of just offering blog writing services. A trick I kind of do is like, okay, I think of like what I think I should charge, what I think the offer is worth, and I add 10%. And then that always makes it feel just like a little bit stretchier, a little bit more uncomfortable. But then I know that I'm like adding that 10% buffer and like kind of pushing myself to charge more. And I've never had a client reject that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Well, you've kind of learned that over time. You just celebrated your fifth business birthday.
Yeah.
What are some things you wish you would have known? I mean, we talked about this at the beginning, but what are some mistakes that you made that you think that other solopreneurs can learn from?
Mm,
I don't think you made any mistakes. It sounds like you just nailed it out of the
right.
gate.
I know. I mean, even with the whole health first mindset, there are still times when I have kind of pushed myself too far and I've learned like, oh, okay, that was a little bit too much for me to take on. Um, I do think something I tend to do is like, I will know that I have to make a certain change in my business or move in a certain direction, but I will resist it for way too long until I finally do whatever it is. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so much better. Why didn't I do that before? So I think that's something that I'm still working on. I think for a lot of people, that's pricing. For a lot of people, it's like, "Oh, I know I should raise my prices. I know I should be charging more." And then but they sit on it. They don't do it until farther down the line when you could be probably charging more right now and it would be fine.
Yep. Well, so tell us more about the Health First freelancer community that you run. Who is it for, and what makes it different than other communities?
Yeah. So Health First Freelancer is for humans with chronic illness who want to build a freelancer business that puts their health first. And basically, I created this community for me 5 years ago. What did I need when I was first starting out? And like really sharing the experience of having a chronic illness and building a business, an online business with other people. And yeah, it's really for those who, if you have a chronic illness and you're interested in working for yourself and freelancing, but you don't want to do it alone and you want to be in a supportive environment where other people are going on the same journey as you. Of course, I'm there to provide guidance and assistance whenever possible, but it's really about connecting with other people on the same path, especially in the current age we're in. I think with AI and everything, like everything's changing so quickly. I think the way that I built my business is not necessarily going to apply one to one to anyone doing it today. But in community is where you can go on the journey together and solve problems together along the way.
That is so awesome and so necessary. What would you say are like the biggest mindset shifts you see in people who go through this community?
Yeah, I think particularly for people who are coming from the 9 to 5, like a corporate environment, just like realizing that work and working for yourself can be so much less taxing than they're used to. I think people are used to, particularly with chronic illness, you're used to kind of just pushing through your day constantly when you're working a quote unquote regular job. Um, and I love watching people realize that actually I don't have to do it that way and it can be a lot easier for me and I can do things in a way that supports my health and typically requires a lot less of my time and energy to make the same amount or more money, which is so amazing.
Hmm. Oh, it sounds like such a great idea. I'm so glad you have this going. And Amanda, you help solopreneurs across the boards, but solopreneurs who are facing health challenges find success. So we ask all of our guests this question: what is your favorite quote about success?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm not like a huge quote person. I don't have like the Pinterest board full of quotes or anything, but um I think of a success is a lifestyle, I think, more than a number. And I think a lot of people think of success as a number in the bank or a number that they're reaching for in their salary or whatever it might be. And to me, I want to challenge people to take a more holistic view of success of what what does your day-to-day life look like? So for me, it's very much prioritizing my health and and time and space to rest and enjoy myself throughout my day while also, striving in my business and providing a great service to my clients. So that's what I'd say.
And that's like you just summed up everything that LifeStarr is about, which is building a business that serves your life and your goals. So very cool. You're a poster child for what we're trying to do. So thank you.
Yes. And Amanda, if people want to learn more about you, more about the community, everything, where can they find out more information?
Yeah. So the most active place you'll find me is on YouTube at Health-First Freelancer. Check me out, subscribe to my channel. Would love to have you there. I'm also toying with the idea of actually starting my own podcast. So if that happens, you will find it on the YouTube channel, and links to my email list and the community page are there as well.
Well, Amanda, thank you so, so much for coming on the show today. And listeners, subscribe to her channel, but also subscribe to our channel and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Share this episode with a friend, and we will see you next time on the Aspiring Solopreneur.